Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of my podcast called Here is My Story. My first guest is my dear friend Zlatka, and we're going to talk about doing graduate studies, being an international student, and just life in the US overall. So I hope you enjoy. Hi Zlatka,
Hello, Angelica.
how are you?
Good, and you?
I'm well. Nervous and excited to do the first podcast, but I'm glad that it's you, my guest, because it's easier to talk to someone that I know and love and admire. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Yeah.
very excited, also nervous, but happy.
We got this. So if someone asks you to who you are or to tell them about yourself, what would you say?
Well, I am Zlatka Sanchez. I am from Venezuela and Colombia. I am a Ph.D. student in Ecological Sciences. I'm a biologist, and I think that's it.
What do you mean when you say you're both from Venezuela and Colombia?
Okay, so I was born in Venezuela and I live and study there, but my mother is from Colombia, and I spent like all the holidays and vacations in Colombia. So I grew up with both cultures influence a lot. So, and I have both I have dual citizenship. So that's why I consider myself Venezuelan and Colombian. Yeah.
That's sweet. You said that you're doing your PhD in ecological sciences. How did you get there? How did you come to this field?
I think my passion for nature and conservation and preserving what we have, and really appreciate even the small things that nature provides and the huge things that nature provides. It's amazing. So I always enjoy to work in coastal areas or in marine environments and a little bit of terrestrial too.
So what exactly do you study now? Like, what's your focus area? What's your research on?
Right now, I am working in salt marshes, in wetlands. So their coastal wetlands are very important for numerous reasons. But the focus I'm having it's in carbon storage and sequestration. And I want to see if some special characteristics of these ecosystems can help us to understand or predict how much carbon they store. It's better to have the carbon there instead of being in the atmosphere, and then we have all these issues with climate change and the gas emissions that we are contributed as humans. So it's something interesting too for that.
So what do you do outside of your research, your studying?
Okay, it depends, but I'm part of different student organizations around campus, mostly focused on the serving the international community. I am the president of the International Student Advisory Board. I was vice president. Now I'm the outreach director of the Global Student Friendship Organization. I was part of the Global Monarch Club. So these are clubs, and in Old Dominion University, help in different ways.
And I guess some of the people listening to us might wonder: are you paying for your PhD? Are you, how does the financial aspect of it look like?
My recommendation is for grad school, never pay for grad school. You need to get paid for studying your master's or your PhD program. So, and there are different ways to do it. I initially started as a master's student and then switched to PhD program. But for the first years, I was a teaching assistant, a TA. So I taught some general biology introductory laboratory classes. I was the instructor. I had my students. I grade them. It's also a nice experience. Like, you're going to, if you want to continue in academia and be a faculty professor teaching, I think that's great experience, and you understand how to handle students, how to run the laboratory, how to run other things that are very important, and they pay for your tuition and they give you a stipend. It's not a lot, but it's enough to survive.
I like your advice of never paying for grad school.
It's important.
Yeah, it truly is. So once you decided to come to ODU, and you came to the US. What was that like? Had you been in the US previously, or what were your first impressions of like life and reality here?
Okay, when we came to the United States, it was my first time. I have never been in the US before, so it was a little bit shocking. I was expecting what you see in the movies. I'm serious. That was the only actual like
Image you had?
image that I
It
had.
was the same for me.
So it was kind of shocking to see, especially here in Norfolk and in Virginia. There is a lot of nature. There is a lot of like nice areas, and it's less populated
Yeah.
that I thought it was going to be. It's less crowded, which is nice. I think the size of the city is very nice because it's not too big or not too small. So yeah, with that, it was definitely one shock. Another shock that it's maybe because I'm from Venezuela, like there's a lot of corruption and in the military and in the police. So when I came here, and Norfolk is this massive naval base, and everyone is in the military or in the police, and there's so many people wearing the uniforms. The first, I will say, 2 to 3 months, I was terrified. I was terrified every time like someone walked close to me wearing the uniform. I thought like, okay, they're going to take me. I'm going to be sent to prison. They're going to beat me. That was my
expectation.
Yes, my expectation. Or they're going to be rude or things like that. But they weren't. Like mostly they were kind of nice. But it was definitely one big shock for me.
Nice people in the uniforms.
Yeah.
Now that you're here, what are the things that you like the most about life in the US or student life in the US?
I really, really like the community that we have built, like international students and people who support international students. I think it's precious, and it's not everywhere where you can find that. Like other universities in the US don't have that kind of support. They have some support or other things, but here it's like you feel like you belong, and you feel that you can find family and friends easily compared to other people also going through their PhDs in other areas in the US or in other parts of the world. So I really, really appreciate that. I like the freedom part, where we can think and talk and share our experiences. It could be from a very different backgrounds, but always with respect. I think we have more freedom here. Also like economical freedom. I like that. Even we don't have like a massive amount of money, but it's really good to have our own things, like have our like have a car, have your TV, have things like live independently without worrying too much, without depending on family. So I think I appreciate that, but it's nice. It's a different experience, and I think if I come back for every international students or maybe some immigrants or people who have lived in other countries, it's when you come back, you don't feel the same. So it's kind of you belong and you don't belong to any of those places, like both sides.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, that resonates with me a lot because I went home last year for the holidays and I felt great. I felt very at home. Everything was good. But then in a conversation I would say, "Oh, I have that at home, or I have that book at home." But when I said home, I meant my home here and I didn't mean my home there. So it was very confusing to have these several homes that are like across the ocean.
Yeah.
It was a weird feeling.
It's hard, the language in general. It's different when you are learning English like from a textbook or classes than to be immersed completely in a new language. And I love something that you said one time in an event, that you cannot translate your soul into other languages.
Yeah.
So I think that was beautiful, and I definitely agree with that. There's something, even some jokes or some some things that you cannot, if you literally translate it,
makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And it's, I don't know, it's kind of hard sometimes. So we came to the US and we had to spend basically the first 2 weeks in quarantine. And then we needed to find a place to stay. How do you find a place to stay if you cannot get out of one room? And also we didn't have credit score, we didn't have any information, we didn't have a bank account. So it's hard to get a place that actually rents you if you don't have those things.
Yeah. I know you had like another challenge going back to the accommodation conversation, and you were really far from university.
Oh, yeah. So my first semester, my first 2 weeks ish, we live in another city. And I make a mistake between miles and kilometers. So I thought I saw the distance in miles, and now I don't know why I thought it was way closer. We bought a bike. We only had money for like pay the rent of the first month, buying the bike, some pillows, and that's it. We didn't have any more money for anything else. So we bought that bike, and then the next day was my first day of classes. And luckily my classes were like in the afternoon. I was like, okay, I'm going to arrive early in the morning. I didn't arrive. I arrived just for my classes because it took me 3.5 hours just biking. And I'm not professional biking or anything. It's a struggle. Also, going in through the highway, it's very, very hard. And people here, they don't take like the bus. That's what I thought.
No public transport.
I could take a public transportation or something like that, but taking the bus, it will be like 2 hours. And I need to have like 3 different buses. And I need to bike from our house there to the first spot. I don't remember.
Bus stop?
Yeah, the first bus stop that was like 30 minutes biking. Still is very far away.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely a challenge. Luckily, after those few weeks, another grad student in the department was kind of close to me, leaving. So he picked me up most of the days. And the other days I just Uber, which was kind of expensive, but it's way better and safer because I was TAing the laboratory of general biology until very, very late at night. So it was like
you wouldn't bike
9 p.m., finish the lab, and then I need to clean up and do a bunch of things. So it was until like 9:30, 10 p.m. that I stayed in full on winter in the lab. So it was a challenge too.
Yeah, and the first time we met during some like student organization event, and we were like sharing, we were both new, so we were sharing like what we do, who we talk to, and I was like, I joined the triathlon club. We run. We're gonna bike tonight. You should come, Zlatka. And you're like, I've biked from Chesapeake. No.
It was too much.
Yeah, I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
So like knowing all these and all this experience, what advice would you give to yourself like in the past who was preparing to come here? Like what would you tell her?
Advice, well, enjoy the time you have with your family and try to call them as much as you can all the time, and try to be less nervous and less stressed. Still, I'm super nervous and stressed all the time, but try to not to do it that much. Pay attention to the people you have close, to your friends and your new family here. And even when you're homesick, but they're also here, they are also supporting you all the time. So I think
be homesick with them.
Yeah, be homesick together. So just reach out and have fun in the process.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with everything you said, and I just want to highlight the reach out to people and ask questions part, because there are a lot of resources available, but unless you ask the question, nobody will tell you the answer or point you at in the right direction. So
Definitely.
yeah. Well, thank you so much. This
Thank you,
was lots of
Angelica.
fun.
Oh.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for the first episode of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Zlatka. Please make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell button so you'll be notified when we have more episodes coming up. If you would like to follow Zlatka's journey and her research, you can follow her. I'll leave all the links in the description box below. And I thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you here next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
That was good.
I forgot.